So, I'm going to talk about how I chose to speak with my 7-year-old son about his twin sister dying. For all of you that don't know, my daughter Alessia died last year at the age of 7 from pediatric brain cancer. January 1st of 2025, she was diagnosed with a diffuse midline glioma in her thalamus, and she died May 5th of 2025 from brain cancer. So from the beginning, my son really kind of was involved, and he witnessed and saw things that no child should ever have to witness or see, especially when it comes to his twin sister or any sibling, rather. So I chose not to lie to him when he had questions. I chose to give him the information so that he had correct and accurate information, and to present it in a way that didn't scare him too much and in a way that he could understand. Some parents choose not to tell the siblings that their brother or sister is dying, and that's okay. It's just whatever you choose to do. But I felt that my son would want to know the truth. I have spoken to other parents who decided to not tell their children, and it turns out that their children were upset that they didn't know that their sibling was dying or so close to death that it was the last time that they would see them. And so I am happy with my decision on how I chose to handle it with him. He asked me if my daughter had brain cancer, if his sister had brain cancer, and I said yes. He asked me if she was going to die, and I said I didn't know. And this was in the beginning of her journey, so that was the truth. Then, as time went on, things got worse. Alessia's symptoms got worse. She had more and more complications, and he witnessed more and more of those traumatic incidences. And so he had questions. He didn't understand how some people could survive and live through cancer, after cancer, and how some people die. And I explained to him that there are some cancers that are treatable and some that you don't survive, that you die from. And I said, some people get better and some people don't. And when we had to take Alessia home on hospice, which is what we chose to do, we chose to do hospice at home. I sat my son down and I said, hey, bud, remember, we had a conversation about how some people get better and some people don't. He looked at me and he said, Alessia is not going to get better, is she? I told him the truth. I said, no, she's not going to get better. And he said, is she going to die? And I said, yes, she's going to die. I don't know when, but she is home now, and it will be in the near future. And you'll see a lot of people coming in and out of the house, and that's because they want to be near her and they want to, say goodbye to her. But we're not telling this to Alessia. Okay, because she doesn't quite understand, because the cancer in her brain is just making it hard for her to understand a lot of things, and we don't want to scare her. But she's going to be with Grandma Fran and all the angels, and she's going to be able to walk and pain-free, and that was a hard conversation, but we got through it. And I think he appreciated it because he spent every free moment he had with his sister, whether it was laying on the bed with her, watching a show, he knew. So I chose that route. He left for school that morning, and I swear he knew she was going to die. I have a picture of him looking at her, and I've never seen this face before. So I believe he knew. He said goodbye to her and went to school. After she passed, my husband went to pick him up from school, and hospice already came in and took the bed and took everything because she went to the funeral. And when he walked in, he saw that there was no bed there. There was no Alessia. His sister was gone, and he said, "Did she die?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm really sorry. Alessia died." I'll never forget his face, but we got through it that day. We got through it. And I explained to him the next steps and so on and so forth. He was at the funeral home. He saw her in an open casket before we closed it. I wanted to make sure that he got closure, because I never wanted him to resent me for anything. Because if that was me, I would want closure for my sibling. So then, okay, after all the services and everything and blah, 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 okay, he still has questions. He wants to know why the doctors couldn't save her. Why couldn't they just cut it out of her head? Why couldn't they go in through another way? And I told him we tried, and that we tried all the medicine. We tried everything, but unfortunately, Alessia was just too sick and the cancer was too bad. And he said, "Well, who could have saved her, Mom?" And I said, I guess God is the only one that could have saved her. And for some reason, he chose not to. And that is what I believe. And he said, "Well, I'm mad at him for that." I said, "I know, buddy, me too. It's okay. You could be mad." And still till this day, I choose to tell him and speak to him with my truths. I tell him I get angry too. I tell him I get sad. I tell him how I feel. I try and validate him. The past year has been very hard for him. He has gone through severe medical anxiety along with multiple other issues, anger, things that a now 8-year-old boy should not have to deal with. He is just not a normal 8-year-old boy, because he has to deal with things that many adults will never have to deal with. So that is my experience, and that is what I chose to do along with my husband. And I think that my son trusts me more because I always told him the truth. And he knows I'm not going to lie to him. And to me, that's everything. I don't know. I think him knowing and being there and being involved and knowing the truth gave him the involvement that he needed. And I think that we have a closer bond because of it. So if you're going through it, I don't know, you know your child best, but I've heard from others, so that's what I chose to do.